Once upon a time, in a peaceful village, there lived an old woman who owned 2 pots. Every day, she would take the pots to the river to collect water for her household. The 2 pots were very different from each other. One was perfect, strong, and could carry a full load of water without a single drop spilling. The other, however, had a crack running down one side. Despite its flaw, the old woman used both pots every day. One day, as the pots made their way back to the woman's house, the cracked pot felt ashamed. It noticed that, by the time they reached the house, it always had only half a pot of water left, while the perfect pot was full. The cracked pot felt embarrassed and useless. "I'm not as good as the other pot," the cracked pot thought to itself. "I have a flaw that causes me to leak. I fail every day in comparison. The perfect pot carries all its water, but I can't even keep a full load." Every day, the cracked pot wished it could be perfect. It resented its crack and the water that trickled away. The other pot, with its smooth, unbroken surface, always seemed proud and strong. One day, as they returned to the woman's home, the cracked pot could no longer hold its feelings inside. "Why do you still use me when I'm so imperfect?" the cracked pot asked the old woman. "I leak water on the way, and I can never carry as much as the perfect pot. I am a failure." The old woman smiled kindly and said, "Do you see the path we walk every day?" The cracked pot looked down at the ground, and the woman continued, "I want you to pay attention to what you've been doing all along. You see, while the perfect pot was carrying water straight to the house, you were watering the flowers along the path." The cracked pot looked closer at the ground. It noticed that along the way, flowers had been blooming on the very side where it leaked. Beautiful and colorful flowers grew in the sunlight, thriving because of the water it had spilled. The cracked pot had never noticed before. "You see, my dear pot," the woman said, "you may have a crack, but you also have a purpose. Your flaw, the very thing you see as a weakness, has been bringing life to the flowers that grow along the path. Without your leak, these flowers wouldn't have flourished. You've been watering them every day without even realizing it." The cracked pot was amazed. It had spent so much time focusing on its own imperfections that it had never considered how those imperfections could be useful. It had always believed that a flaw made something useless, but now it saw that its crack had a beautiful purpose. From that day forward, the cracked pot walked with a newfound sense of pride. It didn't feel ashamed of its flaw anymore. Instead, it understood that its leak was a blessing, a way to nurture the flowers along the path. Every day, it felt joy in knowing that it was making the world a little more beautiful. The perfect pot, on the other hand, continued to carry its full load, but it never noticed the flowers or the beauty that was blossoming along the way. It was only focused on its own strength, unaware of the quiet miracle that the cracked pot had been creating. The cracked pot realized that every person has their own flaws and imperfections, but those very imperfections could sometimes be the things that make a difference in the world. Sometimes, the cracks in us aren't something to hide, but something that allows us to do good in ways we might never have imagined. In the end, both pots had their own purpose. The perfect pot carried the water to the house, but the cracked pot watered the flowers. Together they made the journey complete. One was strong and flawless, and the other was imperfect, yet full of beauty and grace. And the village, with its blooming flowers, was a place of hope and reminder that imperfections are often the secret to finding beauty in life. The cracked pot learned that, just as its flaw was a gift, each of us has unique qualities, some of which might seem like weaknesses, but, in reality, can help us make the world a better place in ways we might never expect. The crack in the pot was not something to be ashamed of. It was what made its journey so special.